If you're a remote worker or you're trying to get into the IT industry so you can be able to work remote, then this episode's for you. In today's episode, we're looking at some advantages and some disadvantages to working remote as an IT professional. So don't forget to click like, subscribe, and that notification bell. Welcome to Debt Free in IT. I'm your host, Mike. This podcast is for anyone who's looking to get into the IT industry, whether it's for a career change or you're just interested. I think you come to the right place. So everyone I meet that wants to get into the IT industry, one of their main reasons is because they want to work from home. So most people don't realize that that's usually going to depend on your position. So if you're an entry level or you're coming in an entry level role, let's say you're coming in networking, you're a network technician, most of the time you may not be working fully remote because usually that technician position, you're going to be the eyes and the ears, the boots on the ground for the networking team. So if any piece of equipment goes down, you're going to be the one that's doing the racking and stacking. You're going to be the one that's grabbing another piece of equipment, going out to replace that equipment. So usually you may have a day here or so there where you're working remote, but there's nothing that you can count on and there's nothing that's guaranteed. So in an entry-level cybersecurity role, you may have a better chance of working remote, in my opinion, because especially if you're on the internet side of things. So on the internet side of things, you may not have no physical hardware that you're responsible for. And then this is still going to fall back on the manager, where some managers may want you to come in a couple of days a week, and then you're able to work remotely a couple of days a week. Or some of them, after COVID, they may not want you to work remote at all. So this is all going to depend. And then some of them may offer where you have more days remote as you advance your career. So as you come in that entry-level role, you may only have no days or may have a couple of days remote. And then as you advance through your career and move up to that analyst and to that engineer role, you start to gain more and more days remote. So today, we're going to look at some advantages and disadvantages of being able to work remote. So let's start out with some advantages. So the first advantage to working remote as an IT professional is the flexibility. So working remote as an IT professional, as long as you got an internet connection, you can work anywhere. So if you're going out of town for a day or two, as long as you got that connection or you got that hotspot you can connect to, you should be good. No harm, no foul. And then also with some jobs, they may give you a time frame of the hours that you need to work, and you can choose within those hours and be able to work on your own time. So it just depends on the job. So, and then also being able to work remote, it makes it possible for you to do things after hours. So whenever your job ends, usually where if you had something you needed to do at 5 o'clock, or let's say you had something you need to do at 6 and your commute is an hour. So usually by the time you get there, you done commute at home, you're tired, then you're in a rush trying to get ready, then trying to make it to that event on time. If you're working remote, you can start getting ready around about 4:30, then get ready to head out as soon as it's time for you to end your shift. Or you may be able to holler at your boss and let them know that you got something going on and you can leave out a little earlier. So the first advantage to working remote as an IT professional has to be the flexibility. So the second advantage to working remote as an IT professional is no more long commutes. So this is something I can relate to. I remember starting out as a computer operator. I had to drive 45 minutes one way. And then also to add on top of things, I was working third shift. So anyone know that if you ever had to take a long commute to your job, you know that it may be pretty comfortable or pretty easy going there. But sometimes when you're leaving, especially after you done had a long, rough day, then it makes it even more difficult to make it home. Sometimes I would find myself dozing off. You know, sometimes I would have to pull over, get out of the car, stand up and stretch to try to wake myself up, you know, but all sorts of things. So you don't have to deal with that long commute when you're working remote. And then also another plus, an added bonus on top of that, if you're in a busy city, then you don't have to deal with no traffic. So you don't have no traffic to deal with. You don't have to deal with that long commute. So that's one of the pluses to working remote as an IT professional. So the next advantage to being able to work remote as an IT professional is it's going to create more job opportunities. So being able to work remote is going to make you more marketable outside of your driving distance. So where your search area before was narrow, where you're pretty much searching for at a 45-minute drive, or maybe if you're going a little further, you're prepared to drive an hour or so. So being able to work remote now you're able to widen your search area to where now, instead of me just searching North Carolina looking for networking jobs or looking for jobs that pertains to the CCNA, now I can search the United States and look for all remote jobs. That way I'm able to land a job, and 9 times out of 10, that may end up to me getting paid more than I would be if I was in North Carolina. Because if I land a job in New York, the cost of living there, so most of the time it should lead to a pay increase. So being able to work remote, like I said, is going to create more job opportunities and make you more marketable. So the next advantage to working remote as an IT professional is no need to dress up. So when you're working remote, pretty much you're working at home. So you wake up, brush your teeth, wipe your face, you can turn on that computer and you're ready to roll. Or you wake up, take your shower, go through your morning routine, turn on that laptop, you're ready to roll for the day. So you don't have to dress up unless you're in a position where you have a lot of meetings. And then a lot of times some enterprises may require that whenever you're in a meeting that you have your camera turned on, or there may be something that your manager require that, okay, you're working remote, but I need a way to kind of keep an eye on you. So whenever you're in a meeting or whenever we meet up, I need you to turn your camera on just so I can justify that you are at home working. So some managers may do that. Most of them don't, but being able to work remote, you don't have that need to dress up. Therefore, it's going to save you money on your closet because you don't have to buy. Most places want you to dress business casual, so you don't have to buy different clothes to dress up to meet the standards at your job. So you can just wear anything. I'm a sweatsuit person, so I like to wear sweats. Nowadays I get more into the chinos, but most of the time, if I got the option, I'm going to throw on some sweats. So being able to work remote, a huge advantage is that you no longer have to dress up to go to your job, because the only thing you're doing is waking up, turning on your computer, and you're ready to go in the comfort of your own home. So my last advantage to being able to work remote as an IT professional is that it gives you the ability to focus more. So if there's a project you're working on, or there's something you got a due date by, or something you need to get done, when you're working at home, you're able to focus more sometimes. So this is a plus and a minus. So you're able to focus more if you have the right surroundings. So you don't have no coworkers to bother you. So you can put your mind on it. Say, okay, in the morning, I'm going to wake up. I'm going to jump straight on this project. And then I'm going to work until someone calls me or an issue comes up where I have to leave that project. So you can get focus time and get that deep work in. So you're able to focus. You're able to spend time on your project. And as you all know, when you're around coworkers, you tend to, conversations come up. You might end up talking for an hour or two. Then it's lunchtime, so you go to the cafeteria. So you have different things that can come up and distract you whenever you're on the job. So being able to work remote, you don't have none of those distractions. If you're finding value in this episode and you're listening via YouTube or your favorite podcasting app, please leave me a review or a comment. If you have a friend who needs to hear this, please share this episode with them. So moving on to the disadvantages. My first disadvantage of working remote as an IT professional is isolation. So it's going to make you feel isolated and lonely just because you're not around any people. You don't have any people to talk to about the job. You're not able to communicate what's going on. And then also it's going to make it harder to learn your role, in my opinion, if you're someone that's just moving into a company or just moving into a specific role. Because if you're 100%, a lot of times we all know when you're 100% remote and you're being trained on something, a lot of time that quality of training just ain't what it's kicked up to be or what it's supposed to be. So it could make it harder for you to learn your role 100%. And then also by you not knowing everyone because you're 100% remote, you may not have got a good grasp on your teammates' personality. So what this could do is whenever you have an issue, it's going to make it harder for you to reach out and ask for help because you don't really know no one. So you don't have no one where if you was in person, you might have been found that friend or someone you could relate to or someone you get cool with, and they can kind of groom you to the position. So if you're working remote, you don't have the opportunity to do this. So that's my first disadvantage. So my next disadvantage to working remote as an IT professional is you can easily be distracted. So like I said, it's a gift and a curse. So on a positive note, you can focus being able to work remotely from home. But on that non-positive note, you can easily be distracted. So this just going to all boil down to the type of person you are. If you're someone that gets easily distracted, it's going to be hard for you to work remote, especially if you're in a household where other people is there. Because some people, let's say if they're older people or your parents or some sort, or like your cousins or your kids, a lot of times they don't understand the term of working from home. Some of them think that if you're working from home, you're not really doing that. They don't think you're really working. So a lot of them, just because they see you at home, they're going to still treat you as if you're at home. So they're going to be asking you to do things around the house. If they're doing something and they need to leave out, hey, can you watch this for me? So all of this is still going to happen. So then also on another note, if you're a gamer, it's going to be totally hard to work from home because most of the time you're working at home. And right about now, this time, the new Call of Duty done dropped. Or let's say you're a Madden fan, you're on Madden and you're working from home. Man, it's going to take everything in the world to keep you from picking up that controller. So this is one of the disadvantages to working at home is that it could cause some distractions that if you don't nip it in the bud or you don't know how to control it or you don't know how to, maybe stray off a little bit and get back on task, it could lead to you getting behind on whatever projects you got going on at work. And then it's going to start to show that, okay, we can't let this person work at home because it seems like every time they work at home for a while, they get behind on whatever projects they're supposed to be doing. This is another disadvantage. So the next disadvantage to working remote as an IT professional is that it could make it harder for you to advance. So this is more geared towards those that's just starting out in IT, or let's say that this is your first role as an IT professional and it's 100% remote. A lot of times, I could see that it could make it where it's harder for you to advance because no one really gets a chance to know your personality. You're dealing with everyone remotely. You're dealing with everyone on phone. So when it's time to move up, you may not be thought about just not because your skill level, but just because you haven't did anything where they notice you. You haven't did anything to get on anyone's radar. So where if you was in person, then everybody get a chance to know your personality and they'd be like, oh, okay, that's a good guy. That's a good girl. I think they should move up, so that's something that you need to think about, not saying that it's going to be totally hard to move up. I'm just saying that it could make it a little bit harder to advance. So the last disadvantage to working remote as an IT professional is that it's harder to troubleshoot some issues. So sometimes when you're working fully remote, you get that phone call where you're dealing with a user. Let's say that user is not technically inclined. So they may be describing something to you all wrong. So then you're on the phone with them an hour when you know good and well that if you was there in person, that hour could have went to 20 minutes because you would have been able to see what's going on and that user may not be describing the issue correctly. And then also you could call another teammate or call someone that's there in person to go look at it. But then if you're totally new, it's going to make you feel like you're pawning your issues off on them. So there's nothing wrong with that to get the issue resolved. But sometimes I used to have mixed feelings when I worked remote and I had that issue where, okay, I know what the issue is, but I'm not there in person. So then you could tell the person that if you're working hybrid remote, where you have some days where you come in, if it's an issue that could wait, you could tell the person, okay, I know what the issue is, but I'm going to be on site tomorrow, or I'm going to make a special trip tomorrow to come down and fix the issue. But like I said, just depending on the person, you could easily assign that ticket to someone else on your team that's there in person and just give them a call and ask them, say, hey, I got this issue. Seems like that the resolution is this, and can you go and do this for me? A lot of times your teammate, if you're on a good team, your teammates, they shouldn't care. So that's my last disadvantage to working remote as an IT professional. So that brings me to the end of this episode. If you're on Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook, you can follow me at DebtFreeInIT. If you have any questions, you can email me at debtfreeinit@gmail.com. Other than that, I'll see you next week. Peace.